On the 7th of February 1951, here in the beautiful state of Hawaii, Joan Midori Hirabayashi was born as the third of 4 children and the first daughter to Toshiyuki and Midori Hirabayashi. She was born in the Kuikini Hospital on the island of Oahu as a third-generation Japanese following her grandparents' migration in the early 1900s. Though her family had roots in San Francisco, California, her parents relocated here to Hawaii following World War II, hoping for a less prejudiced place to raise their children following the shameful internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. She enjoyed a happy and peaceful childhood growing up with her brothers Glen, Dean, and Mark, developing a firm ohana or family spirit that has remained throughout the years with no family feuds or drama. In 1954, the family relocated here to Kauai when Joan was 3, and she spent her formative years in various parts of the island before the family finally settled in the home here behind me in Kalaheo. As she reached her teenage years, she got her first job in a pineapple cannery where her brothers worked in the field and she worked in the canning section. Waking up each morning at 3 a.m., she learned the importance of hard work and developed a tireless work ethic that she carried with her throughout her life. As she reached high school age, her parents made the decision to send her to Hawaiian Mission Academy here on Oahu, where she made many good friends and would enjoy coming back on later in life. Sadly, prejudice against Japanese permeated the walls of the church, causing Joan's father to stop attending church. However, when she reached her own age of accountability, she made the decision to be baptized here at the Poipu Beach and joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church, following in the footsteps of her mother, and this faith community would form a major part of her life over the next 60 or so years. When she was here on the island, she attended the Lawai Valley Church, and when she was at school on Oahu, she attended the Honolulu Japanese Church. Some of her fond childhood memories during this time of her life included living in a cabin during the summer in the Kokei Mountain State Park, and a family trip to the mainland USA and Canada, driving a blue Chevy Biscayne and camping along the way. As Joan and her brothers got older and moved away from the island, they would still consistently have family reunions, and from time to time would enjoy coming back here to the family home on the island and creating memories with their own children, such as the unforgettable hike on the Hanakapiai Trail and the hike to the Alakai Swamp. At the age of 18, as her 2 older brothers had already done, Joan decided to move to the mainland to continue her education and chose Pacific Union College in Angwin, California as her place of study. Here she trained as a speech therapist for 3 years before deciding to take a break from her education for a year. Joan went as a student missionary to Japan and spent a year living in Kobe and working at the Osaka Center, part of the Adventist English language school system. Joan thoroughly enjoyed her time in Japan, and it was an important place for her to connect with her Japanese heritage. Returning here to California, she went to La Sierra University and completed her master's in speech and hearing disorders before getting her first job here at the Simi Valley Adventist Hospital as an audiologist in the rehab department. It was here at the Simi Valley Adventist Hospital when on the 31st of October 1977, in the hallway just outside the elevator across from the cafeteria, that Richard first laid his eyes upon her. Though he had only been working there a month, one of Joan's friends told her about the new guy at work. She normally carefully packed a lunch each day, but now she decided to eat in the cafeteria so she might bump into this new guy. As one thing led to another, their relationship would develop and blossom over the next year. Interestingly, while they were dating, Dr. Harder from the hospital showed them a yearbook from Walla Walla College in Washington and showed how Joan's Adventist father and Richard's at the time Lutheran dad would often go on long walks together discussing the Adventist faith. On the 31st of December 1978, Joan and Richard were married at the Vallejo Drive Seventh-day Adventist Church. While continuing with her studies in Loma Linda, they lived here in Grand Terrace in the house right behind me and attended the Azure Hills Seventh-day Adventist Church, during which time Joan worked at the Fontana Unified Schools District. In 1982, their first daughter Midori was born in the Fontana Medical Center. Whilst pregnant with Midori, Joan had come home the day before Christmas 1981 and calmly informed Richard that she had worked her last day, something that took him by complete surprise. Whilst over the years there was a little bit of disagreement as to whether she had told him ahead of time or whether it was a complete surprise. Nevertheless, Joan quit her job and her attention now shifted to the motherhood season of life. Whilst going from a double income to a single income household here in California might not be the best financial decision to make, Joan was deeply convicted that she wanted to live without regrets and spend as much time with her children as possible. Later in life, when Midori and Aiko reached adulthood and later motherhood, they were able to express their appreciation to their mother for the sacrifices she had made and the priority on their upbringing she had made and the invaluable time and memories they had been able to share together. Whilst pregnant with Aiko in 1983, the opportunity arose to move to Kettering, Ohio to be closer to Richard's parents, and the family moved across the country and would spend the next 19 years there, living in this house. When Aiko and Midori reached school age, Joan took it upon herself to homeschool them and did so through elementary, middle school, and high school. Joan was able to instill not just an education into her daughters, but also important life lessons. Lessons of frugality, integrity, compassion, kindness, selflessness, and hard work, whilst always taking time to play. During Joan's time in Kettering, she was integrally involved in the Kettering Seventh-day Adventist Church, leading out in the Cradle and Junior Sabbath School department, a mother's group, and also a young adult group, spending many days during the week at church with her daughters at church-related events. Joan had committed these years of her life to her daughters and did everything she could to give them a well-rounded life experience. Some other favorite memories of these years of her life included a family trip to Israel courtesy of some generous family members. There were also many road trips across the country, visiting family and friends in Florida, Colorado, and California. They never stayed in hotels, always drove through the night, and only ate packed lunches, with Joan making sandwiches on her lap whilst watching the countryside speed by. Joan was also very creative, using ice and cold washcloth to make the journey more enjoyable when the car had no air conditioning. Another highlight of these years of Joan's life was her involvement in the early years of Young Disciple Camp founded here at Hartland by Janet and Will Everett. As her daughters were just old enough to attend, she volunteered as staff, and it soon became a regular part of her summer schedule to help out at camp. As a family, they also enjoyed a memorable trip to Europe with Young Disciple touring the Waldensian valleys. In 2002, Joan and Richard left Ohio, initially moving to Hawaii, but after a year, they relocated here to Hartland College, where Joan held an impressive number of roles over the years. She worked in the stewardship department, as the Hartland World Mission Editor, as the Piedmont Valley Bible Camp Coordinator, and also as the Dean of Women. More than in an official capacity though, Joan's life impacted countless students through her loving ways. Staff and students knew that her door was always open, her ear was always willing to listen, and her refrigerator was always full. Joan took on too many extra projects over the years and fully devoted herself into campus life. Over the years, many students enjoyed her cooking, with the Reichard home being a favorite stop on the home Vesper circuit. Joan was an active member of the Orange, Warrington, Living Hope, and Culpeper churches during the last 2 decades of her life here in Virginia, actively helping out in many departments, including the Children's Sabbath School, playing the piano, and being an integral part of the fellowship lunches. Knowing firsthand what a positive impact Young Disciple Camp had made on her own daughters, Joan was always passionate about camps. And in her later years, she spearheaded the Piedmont Valley Bible Camp, devoting a significant part of each year to creating a space where the teens who came, as well as the staff who volunteered, could have a memorable, life-changing experience. Joan was a consistently pleasant person, always smiling, always happy, and always had something positive to say. She liked to laugh a lot as well. Even when mistakes happened or something fell and broke in the kitchen, she would laugh about it and carry on. She was a spiritual person who loved to pray. She loved to read spiritual books, listen to spiritual radio shows and sermons. She was a voracious note taker as well, always taking notes either by hand or on her laptop in every sermon or meeting that she attended. She liked to memorize Bible verses and also liked to sing a lot as well. Around the house or in the car she would like to sing, but also more formally with her brothers, her daughters, and in various groups over the years. In 2006, Joan's first daughter Midori married Jason Sliger, and 5 years later they would make her a grandma with the birth of Evangeline. Later on, Christian and Verity were added, all much loved. In 2013, Joan's second daughter Aiko and I were married, and later on Enoch and Eden were added, giving her 2 more grandchildren. In addition to being an excellent mother and grandmother, she was also a great mother-in-law, with Jason and myself never really understanding when other men made mother-in-law jokes or talked disparagingly of their mother-in-law. Joan enjoyed a trip to Japan in later years with Richard and Aiko, where once again she was able to connect with her Japanese roots and also see how Aiko had gained an affinity for Japan as well. Officially retiring from Hartland in 2020 enabled her to spend 3 months in Michigan looking after the Sliger grandchildren as they went through AFM training. Evangeline, Christian, and Verity enjoyed these months immensely as Joan taught them, played with them, creating fond memories together. Though both her daughters would live overseas in what would be her final years, she never begrudged this fact. Though she missed them, she was happy they were serving God where He had called them. In retirement, Joan enjoyed more frequent visits to see and look after her mother in California, and life was as busy as ever until the 9th of January 2024. She had some discomfort, but nothing too serious. But when it became more severe, they went to the ER, only to discover that she had an advanced form of colon cancer that had likely spread to other organs. Following a biopsy in February, it was revealed it had spread to the pancreas and peritoneum. Though aware of the seriousness of the diagnosis, we were at least hopeful that if she was not to be healed completely, we had at least several months or maybe even a year left. In her closing weeks, her daughter in England, Aiko, was able to visit with Eden, and Midori made plans to return from Papua New Guinea. Though the Lord opened many doors, it didn't quite work out as hoped. On the 1st of March, Joan took a sudden and drastic turn for the worse, and as she went to bed that evening, Richard said to Aiko, "This might be the night that we say goodbye." That evening, she'd been able to FaceTime with Midori in Papua New Guinea, and they were able to share some precious words together. That night, in the early hours of March the 2nd, she went to her rest. Though it was sudden and she'll be sorely missed, we are at least grateful that her suffering was mercifully brief. A peaceful death is a beautifully sad thing to witness, and she died at peace with her family, her wider community, but most importantly, at peace with her Maker. She leaves behind a husband, 2 daughters, 5 grandchildren, 3 brothers, and her 107-year-old mother. She lived a life of full and loving service to God by serving her husband, daughters, grandchildren, her wider family, her church family, her campus family, and students. She was hardworking, always busy, kind, compassionate, selfless, not one to raise her voice or get angry, easygoing, and she touched the lives of numerous people. May these characteristics live on in the lives of her family and those that she impacted. We look forward to that day when death will no longer have a sting. May she sleep well until the resurrection morning.
Again? Still there.
Let's move it. On a different part.
Oh, right there. Ready?
Long, tall mountain. And you are the last car on the train. Don't I know it, sighed the little red caboose. Poor me. The train went slower and slower and slower.
Okay. Have to go for a walk in the house.
go for a walk.
Oh.
Fishy, fishy, swishy, swish. This was attached to a little coral stand.
Getting all wet. Oh, what's that?
Okay, what's going on here?
We're going to try to flip this layer
Upside down
onto
onto
this
that.
one.
Are you ready? Yes. Push her hard.